video. So we're going to do that right now. Got my setup going over here. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday, August 7th. Got 11 folks watching. Fantastic. All right. Come on, YouTube. Special shout out to everybody joining us. I know we usually do these at different times, but it's summertime. I don't know, sometimes daytime feels more like evening. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Okay. It's thinking. It's thinking, everybody. Thanks for your patience. I need to do the Jeopardy music while we wait. Here we go. Sounds like there's sound. Someone give me a thumbs up in the chat. Let me know you can hear me. I know we got 11 folks here, so someone, Jake C, or what? Oh, many thanks to Jake C, our new moderator in the chat. So behave yourselves, or Jake C is going to come after you. Okie dokie. No one's saying if they can hear me. I'm assuming that they will. Okay. All right. Oh, Melissa is here. There's sound. Excellent. There's sound. There's light. There's music. Here we are. Awesome. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, welcome. I already said happy Wednesday for those of you that are just now joining me. Today we're going to be talking about Gems of Grieg. For those of you that don't know who Grieg is, he's probably one of the most famous Norwegian composers. He was born June 15th, 1843. Yes, 43. Sometimes I get those mixed up. So he was born in Bergen, Norway, and he did grow up with music. His mother was a musician, and she taught him violin as well as piano. When he was around 15, he met a famous musician and decided that he should probably go to a conservatory. He went to Leipzig Conservatory. Although, by his own words, he said he felt like he entered as stupid, or left as stupid as he entered the conservatory. So, not quite sure what that means, but apparently he didn't feel like he learned as much as possible there at the Leipzig Conservatory, which I think is kind of funny. We'll talk a little bit more about his life, but we're going to talk about 4 different pieces first. We're going to talk about the butterfly, and if you have your video pulled up here, you can actually bring up the music so you can follow along, or you can just sit back, relax, and listen. So we're going to look at the butterfly, then we're going to look at Arietta, which is from his lyric pieces, and then the Mountaineer's Song, and if we have time, we might look at Anitra's Dance. You probably know this most famous piece of Grieg. From the Peer Gynt Suite, that's Morning. A lot of people know that piece. Unfortunately, maybe not for the best reasons. You might find it in a detergent commercial or something like that. Sometimes they'll use it in music for movies. It's meant to be comical. So there's a little bit of, I'd say maybe some musical abuse going on there, unfortunately. Let's see, Paul. Oh, hello, Paula. Paula's here. It does sound like spring. Morning sounds like spring. There's a wonderful piano concerto that Grieg wrote. He only wrote one. And of course, that begins with that really striking solo. Very dramatic piece of music. I do have a video of that if you want to check that out. It was apparently Franz Liszt's favorite piano concerto. He really had an affinity for Grieg's piano concerto in A minor. So if it was Liszt's favorite piano concerto, I'd say it's pretty good. So let's dive in. We're going to look at butterfly. Fun fact, the word for butterfly in German is Schmetterling. Sort of a different ring to it than butterfly, right? So I'm going to play through it first. It's a very short piece. And as you're listening, I want you to think about how does Grieg really portray the gracefulness of a butterfly. Okay? Here we go. breath of fresh air, isn't it? So I want to know your thoughts on how does Grieg make it sound like a butterfly? I think he really does. There's a few different things that he does. One thing that is interesting is there's a lot going on in both hands. Often when you have a piece of music, you might have melody in the right hand, left hand you got chords like Bergmüller's arabesque. This one has a lot of broken chords in the left hand. There's a lot of back and forth, even in the first few measures, right? We start with this sort of like bing, almost like a drop of water or something. And left hand is doing this ascending figure. So all this. There's actually a lot of jumps going on in the left hand, which I think also give it that kind of graceful bounce that butterflies tend to have. It's amazing how quickly they can go from one place to another. And I keep coming up with the word graceful, but I think there's something to that. Grieg is using this dotted rhythm. If he was just using straight eighth notes, it would sound something like this. That sounds actually a little bit obnoxious or something, a little heavy bump, 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 but the dotted eighths plus the 16th notes. And notice that the butterfly is getting higher and higher each time, right? Yeah, I have a little trouble reading these. You can imagine a butterfly. Yes, floating right by you. Yeah, it's almost like it's going right by your face, which that can be a little scary sometimes if you didn't know it was coming. But if you're by like let's say a butterfly bush and there's lots of them on there, they're just coming right around, right? So this figure here, he repeats it, but he goes higher, and then it lands. And notice he's using, again, that same rhythmical pattern that the dotted rhythms, but this time it's coming down and resting on that low E down here. Yes? The butterfly seems like it's going to sleep. Now this is all in A major, and now we're ending in a very settled key, but then we go to G major here. What does he do here? Let's see. G major is a really foreign key to, these two keys, A major and E major, all of a sudden. And he's outlining a scale in the right hand. He's going. Okay, but it doesn't sound just like a simple scale because he offsets it with the fluttering, with the. So in the offbeats, you can hear that. Now, if it's slowed down, it doesn't quite sound so active. But when it's sped up, you can hear the fluttering going on there. It really is a brilliant little gem. I forgot to mention the chromaticism in the very early portion of the piece, right? There's a sort of a dizzying quality about that when he has the chromatic scale. Of course, the word chromatic comes from the word chroma, right? All colors. So you're doing all the half steps in the piano, and it has this kind of dizzying quality. I don't think butterflies get dizzy, though. Probably not. So we're in a G major here. Here's our fluttering. Again, the left hand's doing these little these groupings of upward motion. While the right hand is keeping intact that rhythmical gesture, right, with the dotted eighth and the 16th note. Now we're in F sharp minor, much darker key, right? He stays there. And I love the colors here. He doesn't just do F sharp minor. So when I think of F sharp minor, I think we have three different notes here in a chord. F sharp, A, and C sharp, right? So when you have that without any tones in between, it sounds a little normal. Grieg could have done that, but he adds one note that's not quite in that chord, and it's the G sharp. There's the G sharp. So it has a kind of mysterious quality to it. Right? Very whimsical. Now we're in C major. Wow, we're going from F sharp to C major. Where did that come from? It's like you're starting to enter Narnia or something, right? It's the wardrobe thing there. There's our fluttering. There's our 16th notes. And so again, we're sort of repeating what we had before, except this was in a different key. We call it a sequence in music. But he changes something here. Instead of going, here's our minor. He repeats that, but notice what he does. Now it's in major. So he transforms it just by changing the key. B minor, darker, B major, lighter. Here come those chords, the broken chords. Now we're tilting back to the main theme. We've heard this all before. Something's different. Did you hear it? He adds one more. The butterfly's going a little higher this time. We start here, reaching higher, and then one more. Again, this is a repeat. This is the B section here, we'll call this. And back to C major. Does he go back to B major again? Yes, he does. And he even writes there una corda. Bonus points if you know what the word una corda means. Anybody know what una corda means? I'm doing something different with the pedals. Okay, I'm actually putting the left pedal down, which means it's a little softer. So he wants a specific kind of timbre with this. It's not just about it's softer or louder. When you block one of the strings, right, there's usually 3 strings for each note. If you block one of the strings, then it has a very different texture in a timbre. Again, tilting back to the main theme. Here we go. Recognize this. Going up higher. Oh, we have a rest. That's unusual. The whole piece, I don't think we've had one real true rest, right? Where we don't know what happens. Maybe the butterfly landed somewhere in the bush and you're like, where did it go? And then it reappears. Ah, it's back. I think it's fascinating that he's still able to get this sort of delicate feeling, even though we're low down on the piano, right? Of course, he wants it pianissimo. He wants it pretty soft. But also, again, that 16th, that dotted 8th plus the 16th, yum, da-dum, ba-bum. That sort of that going back and forth, it lends itself to a more graceful, kind of almost casual feeling. And the left hand is still doing upward motion. It's actually the lowest note on the keyboard. That's interesting. All right. If it ended forte, I think it would be a little odd. Think of butterflies as like big, like chubby butterflies. It's sort of not an imagery, right? So butterflies are always light and graceful. So that's Grieg's Butterfly. Any questions on this one? I think it's delightful. It's from his lyric pieces. He wrote, I think, 66 lyric pieces. This is from, I'd say, like middle of his life set. It was Opus 43. There's other ones in there as well. Big butterfly at the end. Big butterfly at the end. Big butterfly. But I love the harmonic changes too, and a lot of people thought that Grieg's music was too tame, but I think that he really captures a lot, and you don't have to change a whole lot to make something feel different and innovative and fresh. Again, I think about what he did with the F sharp minor broken chord. All he did was add that G sharp, and you have that, again, that whimsical quality. So You don't have to change much. I think sometimes people try to change too much, and then you end up with, I don't know what you end up with. You end up with a lot of bad music. Sorry, it's true. All right, let's see. The next piece we're going to look at, make sure we have any comments there. Amazing contrast and style. That's true, yeah. Jake C. pointed out that the contrast and style of the concerto. I believe the concerto opus number is, I don't know the opus number. I feel like it's fairly, if anybody can find the opus number of the concerto, that would be awesome, because that would be interesting to see. The third movement of the concerto starts with this crazy arpeggio. And then we have a dance. But even that, he starts with, that's a pretty simple gesture in a way. And then he uses thirds, and then he has this dissonance there that he emphasizes. So he's really only changing a few things to make it pop, right? So I think that that's something we can explore that in a different live stream, yeah. Oh, we have an opus number. Opus 16, very interesting. It just so happens the next piece is opus 12. So we're going to take a look at the Arietta. This is apparently one of Grieg's favorite melodies. I'll grab a little water here. I thought that was interesting. I actually hadn't known the piece before I was doing a presentation on this. And it's quite, it almost feels like a lullaby, I think. Let's see if there's anything I wanted to mention about this. This is from 1886. It's very short. It's only, looks like it's only 5 lines here. Quite a few things repeat, but there's different layering going on here that I want you to listen for. And I want you to think about, how does Grieg create a sense of intimacy? How does he do that with the music? So this is his Arietta, opus 12. It's heartwarming, isn't it? It just really, you can kind of hear why Grieg must have liked this. I can imagine Grieg at the end of the day working away and traveling and doing this and taking walks, and then he comes home and he says, you know what, it's a day to play this piece. I mentioned earlier we were going to talk a little bit about Grieg's life. Apparently he wasn't a very healthy guy. I think, it's interesting, it is interesting. I think he suffered from tuberculosis, and he had some kind of lung problem where basically he only had one truly functional lung for most of his life. So he spent a lot of time going to call them retreats or something, but places where he could take some time to rest and relax, because he just couldn't keep up with, I guess, things going on. I think he had one daughter that died, I think at 7 or 8, something like that. So he wasn't, he didn't have the happiest life per se, but beautiful music like this is amazing. Feels like taking a walk on a riverbank. Oh, I like that. Yeah, it really does sound like that. The imagery sort of pops right into mind, right? But this intimate quality about it, I think, comes from how he sort of nests the inner layers. Let's see how many layers we have here. We have the melody. That's sort of soaring above the other 2 layers. And then we have the inner layer between the right hand and the left hand, 16th notes. And that inner layer just consists of basically 2 chords. You have this, E flat major, and then a little diminished chord. sort of sense of consonance. Then you have tension, right? And then you have the resolution here. And then the bass layer. This is our cellos, just basically holding. If you're looking at the score, you'll see it's basically just half notes that are tied together. So all together, that creates a very intimate. You have your outer layers, and it's not a huge distance, right? It's about 2 octaves. You don't have like, right? It's not very full and orchestral, even though I did mention cellos. Maybe it's more like a little quartet or something. And these upward gestures give it sort of a hopeful feeling. It's happy. It's not. I wouldn't call it sad. Notice how the melody just kind of dips downward. The melody starts off with a bunch of G's that just repeat, so it's not the most interesting at first. G, 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 so that leading tone to F gives us this feeling of wanting something, right? Right, the F really wants that E natural. It does sound reflective, yes. And we have Fs, repeated Fs, that again dip down to E flat. Look at our second line. Basically, you have something that's repeated, although you have one slight variation. So we have this. I did this presentation somewhere else, and someone said it sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Can you hear it? It's amazing how just one gesture, it's that gesture that goes down, that reminded the listener, that sounds like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. This is a little more bittersweet, I think, and reflective than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Twinkle, little star. It's almost, bittersweet Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I hadn't even noticed that until the listener pointed that out. So we have this descending pattern that repeats with a slight change. Here's a variation. Okay, and then the left hand, our basses are doing. And it's also using that 4-note pattern there. Almost like it's sort of wrapped around itself. You ever seen those shells that, I can't remember what they're called. The ones that, if you look at it, it's like circular, it wraps around itself. That. Again, we still have that middle voice. That's ascending up and down. Again, we're still within a very small kind of range on the piano. So it's not going too far. This is not the concerto. Right? It's not that for sure. Very, very different than that. Conch shell. Yes, a conch shell. Right. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Paula wins a prize. Yeah. Very good. And then on our third line, this is probably the most different line here. What's he doing there? All of a sudden, there's a solo for the top voice. We have a sort of uplifting. The left hand, the other two voices just drop out, and it's almost like, you left me hanging. What happened? Like, why'd you leave me? And then when it comes back down, it's unsettled and then settled. So again, that sort of idea of tension and release, right? Or dissonance, consonance. And then he repeats that gesture a little lower. Again, he has a little solo. Yeah, you can almost imagine a singer doing that. I think Paula would sing that lovely, right? And if you learn this piece, I would say take a little extra time on that to enjoy that. And then again, you still have, you're going into dissonance, which is kind of interesting. Another thing he does with the rhythm is we don't have these kind of straight eighth notes like we had at the beginning, which I think lends itself to the simplicity of the piece. But here he changes it. If you're looking at the score, he's using some syncopation there. Syncopation, right, meaning that there's emphasis on an offbeat, so ta ta, and then straight quarter notes. So there's sort of a stillness, like, wait, what's happening? More relaxed. Again, that's light syncopation. And then we wonder, where is it going to go from here? We're back to E flat major. And now we're back to our almost like a lullaby. He repeats just like how he did at the beginning. This is different now, right? Instead of going, he's playing the same thing a little lower. I think also it kind of feels a little bit warmer in the lower part of the piano. Maybe we're hearing that lushness of the cellos a little more there. Wait, where did that come from? We've heard that before. That's from our third line. But that was a little more in a minor key. This is... we feel a little closer to that major key, the A flat major, I think he's sort of hinting at there. Our little solo. C minor. He repeats that, slightly different. He's jumping in, or jumping down, I should say, to the dissonance. And is he going to start the piece over? No, listen to what he does, how he ends it. Here's our dissonance. And it just kind of keeps going. It's a little, almost striking, like, wait, what happened? We were so comforted by that, and I don't want to say it's scary, but it's striking in a way, I think. What do you think of the ending? Yeah, Jake said, what happened? Yeah. I like the dissonant notes too, yeah. And he uses dissonance in such a way that you appreciate it. It's not like, oh my gosh, like, oh, you know, I really feel it's a lot, you know, because if you just go to the piano and you do that, how are you going to resolve that? No. And, you know, having studied counterpoint and everything, there's always a reason for the dissonance, right? The dissonance has to go somewhere. It just can't be, here's, you know, a big pile of trash. I'm being a little silly, I guess. But here's a big pile of trash, and then turn this into, you know, artwork or something, or amazingly beautiful thing. There has to be a reason for each little piece of dissonance to know where it's going and how it's going to resolve. Grieg does that beautifully. I think, unfortunately, in this day and age, a lot of the music that's being written, it's just dissonant for the sake of being dissonant. Like, there's chaos in the world, blah, 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 and it's just too much. And the body doesn't react well to it. It's a physics thing, too, because, you know, thinking about the overtone series is based off of chord tones. I won't get too much into the... I'll do another video on the overtone series. Leonard Bernstein does a great video on the overtone series. But we like consonants. We need consonants, and I won't rant too much about that. But let's see. It seems like a natural. Almost didn't hear that. Yeah, it almost seems like a natural part of the piece. Yeah, I think so, and I think that's the way it's meant to be, right? But I love this ending. How, right? That's dissonance, but somehow we know it's going to resolve. And here's that E flat major. It almost feels like an upward gesture, almost like, you know, when you close your eyes at the end of the day to just go to sleep. This is a good lullaby, I think. You might as well call it a lullaby. It's an arietta, so it's not an aria as a, you know, a vocalist's piece. Etta, you know, anytime you see that, it's basically a diminutive form of something. So arietta. So it's a little song basically. Very affectionate. It's a little Schumann-esque as well. I kind of hear that. But Yeah, I think it's lovely, and it's not crazy difficult. So if I say for intermediate pianists out there that are listening or watching, I think this would be a great piece for you to learn. So yeah, any questions on that one? That one's the Opus 12. Make sure we keep an eye on the time. We're doing great here on time. We have two amazing pieces to share next. The Mountaineer's Song is actually from one of Grieg's later pieces. Sound a bit like Schumann. Yes, before I move on to that, yeah, almost you can hear a little bit of Traumerei. It doesn't sound exactly like Schumann, but you can hear that kind of romanticism, right? It's a wonderful piece, yes. Traumerei, Dreaming. I have a YouTube video on that one. That's from a while ago, my goodness. We are climbing the mountains now, everybody. We're going to do the Mountaineer's Song. This is from, let me get the opus number correct. Opus 73. This is from his, the title of the series of pieces is called Moods. Moods, as in, it's, I feel moody today. It's Opus 73, so it's actually the last set of piano works that Grieg wrote. The last pieces that Grieg wrote were actually some chorales, like some hymns, that are really beautiful. Look them up. They're amazing. I didn't even know they existed. It's amazing how much, I've practiced so much Grieg in my life, but I've never heard about these, and they're gorgeous. So take a look at those. I think they're 4 chorales. You can find them easily online. But this is a piece that very short, very playable. It's not too difficult. Let's dive in. I'm going to play through the whole thing first. If you have your score, you can pull that out. He marks it allegretto semplice. Semplice, simple. So here we are. I think you can hear the Norwegian scenery in this one. Yeah, what do you think? Yes, this is the, for people just tuning in now, this is the Mountaineer's Song from Grieg's Opus 73, last kind of piano set of pieces that he wrote. So this one, I think, has a lot of interesting things going on. We start very simply. Our cellos are just doing this simple back and forth between 3 notes, okay? And then you have this other voice, the tenor voice, that's just playing these Ds. That's sort of our kind of cantus firmus there going on, right? And then here's our melody. already has a folk-like flavor to it, I think, because of the, right? You have the flourish there of the grace notes. We start with an octave, so that already kind of gives this sense of, it's a little bit, it's not just a fifth, not just a sixth, it's an octave. There aren't that many songs that begin with an octave, maybe Over the Rainbow. Right? If you think of another song that begins with an octave, let me know. But this is one of the few that starts with this kind of expansive feeling to it. And he's decorating basically a G minor chord. He's leaning on the 7th scale degree, right, which is F. And then he kind of colors it in, he fills it in. Right? And then this is interesting. He adds that chromaticism there in the left hand, in that tenor part. It almost has a little Mission Impossible theme going on there. Wait, is that Mission Impossible or James Bond? Someone's got to correct me in the comments. I don't remember which one it is. But those chromatic notes give it a sense of something's interesting here. Maybe the mountaineer's climbing and he sees, maybe someplace he could fall and it wouldn't turn out very well, right? Bond starting his adventures. All right, James Bond, there we go. The right hand is also doing some chromatic stuff. And instead of an octave, he just does a fifth. So, outlining a G minor chord. Again, he fills it in with the 8th notes. Now, what do we have going on here? Echoes, right? They're doing the same thing. Left hand. Interesting, right? And then we go to different sections. This is the B section, and it goes to a C scale, but it's not just C major. Let's see what he's doing here. Talk about dissonance. Now we actually have a C Lydian scale. A couple of pieces based on trying to focus. Oh, nice. Yes. I'd like to hear about those pieces, Jean. Now we have Lydian mode. Lydian mode is basically a major scale, but there's one really important change. The 4th scale degree is actually raised a 4th, up a half step. Not raised a 4th, it's raised up a half step. So here's a regular C major scale. I just have to raise the F to F sharp. You'll hear that a lot in John Williams uses that Lydian mode a lot. And again, we're doing these big octaves. And you have back and forth. You have this nice fifth, which gives it this folksy flavor to it. And this is almost, is this like two mountaineers yelling to each other, or is this the same guy that's yelling, is there anybody out there? So we were in C Lydian, major-ish. Now we're in G minor. Uh-oh. And he marks it pianissimo. So it's supposed to be softer. Something's brewing. Right? Things in darkness. Something's not going on there. Something suspicious there. Doesn't last very long. Goes back to now we're in B flat major. Joyful. Now we're getting lower on the piano and we're back to minor, F minor. One particularly dissonant interval is on the second measure of these. We have C and B natural together there, my goodness. Then it resolves to F minor. Back to joyfulness and A flat major. Lydian. Pauses, a whole measure. We're going up now. What do you think's happening? Is the echo getting higher up? A lot of rests, and it's even higher. He marks his pianissimo. And then the end, all you hear is just the tail end of that figure. And now this is more tranquilo. I don't think it's very tranquilo. See what you think. I think it's a little disturbing, right? He's centered around D, but we have half steps around it, and then an A dipping down to A, back to D, and it's sort of centering, almost that, you know, that conch shell thing as well. But and then he uses the same figure, and it goes over and over, almost like I was watching a video of someone climbing Mount Everest. Easy thing to do. And at one point, there's this, you know, this ladder thing you have to go through, and you can see all the way down there. If you miss a step, not gonna bode well. And it almost seems like, uh-oh. And it gets more intense until it just kind of, all right, stop. You know, they calm down, and then the music starts to breathe again. That's what I think. I don't know if Grieg was thinking about Everest, probably not, but. Back to our main theme. Nothing's changed. Here's our half-step pattern. He fills it in again. And then something's different. This is our coda, or the ending. Instead of doing an octave, he's doing a seventh. So somewhat unexpected. To me, it's almost kind of feels like a ninth chord there. You have your fifth in the left hand, but you have the back and forth. It feels a little more hopeful, like, where are you? Here I am, here I am. There's a little conversation going back and forth. Long pause. More settled, lower in the piano. And then we're very low in the piano. Very dark texture, very dark timbre at the end of that, right? G minor. Oh, the piece begins and ends in G minor. It's a very simple sounding piece. But I think it covers a vast range. It's almost the opposite of the arietta, which is, you know, encapsulated in a smaller portion of the keyboard, and this one is you know, stretched and open. So I like that difference, and it's amazing what Grieg can do with the piano. You know, he doesn't write in a similar way. Of course, these are different from different times in his life, but I love the contrast. Phone call. I didn't think it was going to do that. So that is the Mountaineer's Song. And we are going to end with Anitra's Dance. Of course, this is from the Peer Gynt Suite. I think you'll recognize it right away. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it. We're just going to kind of quickly go through it. I'll play through the whole thing first. I think you'll recognize how it begins with this E major chord. And then here's Anitra dancing. Beguiling. Yes, I think it's very beguiling. The story, I think, at this point in Peer Gynt, in the opera, which I think Henrik Ibsen actually commissioned Grieg to do music for this. Just grab my water here. Let's see. These pieces all sound like they belong to the backdrop of silent films. Yeah, you can really hear that. With this one, of course, it is based off of a story of Peer Gynt. And at one point he meets this beguiling princess Anitra, and this is of course her dancing for him, and she sort of takes him for all he's got, and he gives her all his fortunes. Oh, she's so wonderful, you know. And then she says, okay, now you can get out of here, otherwise I'm going to get the king to, you know, get his troops on you, and you won't survive. So that romance didn't last very long. So Anitra was very beguiling with this dance, apparently. You can hear that in the music. That's sort of the fun part about it. This to me is almost like the curtsy or the bow at the beginning, and then here we have has sort of an Arabian flavor to it. Almost, you can hear you can hear Aladdin theme going on in there. We have emphasis on the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it has a waltz pattern to it. And we just have thirds going up and down. So a very simple pattern happening in the right hand. Again, the right hand's emphasizing 2, 3, 2, 3, and the left hand is doing our rhythm. Up, up, up. Here's our melody. Okay, we start with that sort of flirtatious grace notes there, and we have that half step there, and then it's just basically a 5-finger scale going up. It reaches up to A, and that's just he does a slight flourish on the first beat, going down, another flourish, going down to A. So basically we have a descending 5-finger scale. It's really interesting to you could easily distill it down to, but with the changes, it makes a big difference. And then here we have a descending scale that's kind of almost like a chromatic scale. Of course, we just like the other part of the melody. We have now, right? So that's sort of ascending pattern, which is sort of maybe little leaps in the dance or something. And then now this part, we got a fancy word coming. We have a hemiola happening here. So hemiola is basically, this piece is in 3, but it feels like it's in 2 all of a sudden. So we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And it's a way that the composer can energize the piece. Not that this needs any more energy, but I think it kind of creates this sense of more excitement. And he's using chromatic scale, basically. We have broken thirds going down in combination with the B that stays the same. So, and then this is part of the melody, remember? Just like, but now he's using it as the tail end of the melody. Okay, and he's going to repeat this. And then a very different character all of a sudden. And our left hand is doing these upward gestures. Yum, bum, bum. Of course, this is originally for orchestra, so Grieg is putting this all into the piano. I think there's pizzicato going on there. Bum, 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 bum. While you have the basses, so you can really hear that texture. The pizzicato gives it very distinct flavor. Take a listen to it. You've probably heard it before, but take a listen to it. And now we have the thirds. Has a very kind of yearning quality to it. love this part. This is like, it almost feels like a little bit of a chase or something. And then there's an echo. It's thinking, are we reconnected? I think so. We'll try to get to the end here. My internet is doing goofy stuff. Then we go to major. So this is just like the beginning, but we're back. Good, thank you, Jake C. This is just like the beginning, except now we're in major instead of... Now we're in major. Happy. Back to minor, sad. And now we have a change. The basses go to E flat, which is a surprise, harmonically. There's a little echo that's sort of hard to play on the piano. We have... And then that comes back up a little higher. I need an extra 2 hands for this part. Back to... Here is he's playing around with the idea of stretto, right? When you have a voice that comes in a little later, but it's doing the same thing. So that works very well when you have different instruments doing that. It's a little harder to do it on one piano. There's a great 4-hand version of this for two pianos or one piano. You should check it out if you have a duet partner to play with. It's a lot of fun. So you have stretto going on here, and then it kind of culminates when you have... He repeats this pattern. Here's our Hiniola. And I love how that's just the exact opposite. We go up, we go down. And then we end A minor. So it's a fun piece. It's a lot easier if there's a whole orchestra playing. But I wanted to share that one with you because that's probably one that you're really familiar with. I hope you got the connection working. I think it looks like it's all good here. I'm not sure how that happened. I apologize. So that's Anitra's Dance. And if you want to look up the story, it's actually a really convoluted story, Peer Gynt. So you might want to check that out. It seems like it's a very Scandinavian type of music. Yeah, I mean, you're referring to all of the music? Nice uplifting music. Yeah, I mean, the melody itself is very uplifting. Even though it's in a minor key, I love that, right? To me, that shows the true talent of a composer. If you can do something in a minor key and make it seem uplifting. Think about Mozart. That's in a minor key, but he makes it sound fun and festive, right? This piece, I think this piece has sort of more a little Arabic kind of rhythms. But still, a lot of folk music has a lot of similarities to it, right? I mean, I think the grace notes, you'll find that in a lot of folk music. There's another great piece by Grieg called March of the Little People or March of the Dwarves. It has those fifths in the left hand, so anytime you have those fifths, it kind of harkens back to a folksy feeling to it. That's a great piece of music, although there's some really tricky parts in there where you got these big jumping octaves and stuff. That's another great piece. Folksy, yes, folksy, absolutely. I thought it would be fun to end with, Grieg wrote a piece, it's a prelude to the Holberg Suite, and it's a good ending piece, I think. We won't talk a lot about it, but I think that would be a good piece to end with. I just sort of recently brought it back, so we'll see how the memory's going here. I'm going to try to do it without the score. you might recognize it. It's a beautiful piece. Again, very different. Grieg, Prelude to the Holberg Suite. I believe there's 4 or 5 pieces in that, but that is one of my absolute favorite pieces of Grieg. I think it's again, it's sort of covering the whole range of the keyboard, but it's so broad and uplifting. And yeah, I thought that you would all enjoy that. Any questions before I say goodbye for now? We had a wonderful hour together. Thank you for sharing your Wednesday afternoon, and it looks like the connection behaved, which is great. So if you like the video, you know, share with other people. I would love if you did that. And I want to thank my Patreon community. Without them, this channel would not be possible. So I thank them very much for doing all that. This was a live stream for everyone. We haven't done that in a while. So if you'd like to hear another live stream, what subject would you like next? Mountaineer Song. It is a great find. I love the Mountaineer Song. I think it's underplayed. But again, Grieg wrote 66 of those kind of lyric pieces and solo pieces for piano that there's so many of them. How would you get through all of them? So he wrote a lot of music. So, all right, friends. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and have a lovely rest of your week. Lovely rest of your summer. We're almost at the end of summer here. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of ready for the fall. But I love the fall weather. It's sort of my favorite. So I'm ready for some, Charlie Brown and some falling leaves and stuff like that. So, all right, everybody, let's see if this is going to be. Oh, thanks to Jake C., our moderator. Awesome, awesome. All right, everybody, take care. God bless, and we will see you soon.